number 17. Today I'm going to be talking about posture. So I'm going to be talking about how to sit at the piano, how to use your arms, your back, your shoulders, how you want to play into the piano, using your body basically as a tool to play the piano. So it's all about that today. Right, so the very first and most important thing in posture for the piano, look at my bad posture, it's about the bench. It's all about the bench. That is the very most important thing, the very first most important thing that you must have to get right. Because watch this. Okay, say I move the bench really, really close. What's going to happen? I'm going to be really, really hunched over to try to play the keys. Or like this. And I'm not going to be able to play in the most proper position because it'll be just too close to me and I won't be able to fit it. Sort of like, it's hard to sit in a car if the seat isn't adjusted properly. Now, vice versa, say the bench is way far, way too back. Now what am I forced to do? I'm forced to go like this to get into the keyboard. So like, what if it's like really far back, like this? Does it matter how good a posture I try to have? It doesn't make a difference. The bench will determine whether you have the ability to have good posture or not. So every time you start to play the piano, this is the first thing you should always check. What does a concert pianist always do when they get up? Now on stage, before they sit down at the piano, did you know that usually stage rehearsal or whatever, they've adjusted the bench to where exactly they want it, so when they come on stage it's already set? Did you think they just play it any bench? I've heard of a concert pianist who didn't like the bench that the people presented him with, and it was a good bench, it was an adjustable bench, and it was really nice and everything, but it's, for some reason it didn't suit his needs, and he said that like he refused to play. There's a whole house full of people, and he refused to play until an engineer came and fixed the bench to how he wanted it to be. Now some might think that's just really picky, but I mean, if you're going to be out concertizing and you make a mistake, you don't want it because you're, you know, sacrificing your bench preferences or whatever. Anyway, so that's just an example of how important a bench is. That's what I want to bring up first and foremost. So bench. Now where should it be? That's the next question. Okay, well, a bench should be roughly, you should be sitting on the front half of the bench. Why? So that you can put your body weight into the keys. Now we'll get to that in a minute. But you want to be sitting on the front half of the bench. Now when you're sitting at the front half of the bench, you should have enough room to put your arms forward almost all the way, not totally. Like you don't want to be, you don't want to be doing this, so you don't want to be that far back. You want to be forward a little bit. Now, when you're doing, a good check for that is the bottom of the piano drops off, and if it stops around where your knees are, then that's a general good idea, that you're close enough. But really, everyone's different and everyone has their own personal preference. So try to find a spot where you're able to breathe, you're able to move your arms outwards, forwards, you're able to reach all the keys with ease, and you don't feel cramped. Okay? That's very important that you don't feel like that. Okay? And make sure you're sitting on the front third of the bench while you do that. Now, if you live in a house where multiple people are playing the piano, then it's probably going to get changed every time someone else plays it, unless you have your own private piano, which would be nice. But anyway, the thing is, if someone's moving it, then you're going to have to keep remembering to move it back to your specific spot. So what you could do is you can take a little piece of tape and tape it onto the floor, and then write, you know, Andrew's spot and someone else's spot. And that way you can slide it up and down to wherever you need it, whenever you need it, without having to readjust yourself. You just find it once and then you do that. So that's something you can do. Bench height. You should be sitting not way above the keys like this. You don't want to be like this playing. That's not good. And playing really, really, really low probably isn't a good idea, but I mean, what's his name? Glenn Gould. He used to play very, very low, and he'd play like this. So, I mean, Again, it's up to your own personal preference, but in a way you sort of want it so you don't feel like you're holding your arms up like this all the time, because that can get sort of tiring. What you might want to do is, I find a good bench height is where my knees aren't touching the bottom of the piano, or when I let my arms just go straight up, I just drop them like this. Like if I move my arms, like if I just drop them on the piano, they're slowly on a slope downwards. Now if I drop my arms and like I'm having to do this, then that's not a good sign. Even this, it's a little bit too high. This is good. Now if I'm dropping them and I'm finding that, you know, I'm having to push too much, it's not a really good thing. But the best advice is for the bench height is mess around with what you like the best. You can add books, you can lower the bench by, you know, sawing off the legs. Sometimes that might not be practical. You might want to just buy get a adjustable bench or whatever, if you like a different body size. But I find I seem to fit the piano pretty well with a standard bench, so that's good. Anyway, okay, so now that we've covered the bench, now the next thing is the back. Okay, now what you want to do with your back is you want it to be straight. So your back's going to be straight, and you're going to be leaning a little bit forward like this, okay? Straight and forward, and it shouldn't feel uncomfortable. So find a spot where it doesn't feel like it's being stressed, but at the same time, it doesn't feel like you're just slopping down like that or anything, okay? Something like that. Now, also your feet should be in front of you. One foot could be back, like say your left foot could be back a little bit, or could be up a little bit close to the pedal. And then your other foot should be close to the foot pedal, because you'll probably have to use it. And if you don't, you can just move it off to the side. All your feet are going to be for is just a brace for when you push forward. Okay? Now, the arms. What do we want to do? Okay, all of piano playing is about one major thing. This whole thing about posture, it's about one word. Relaxing. Okay? Relaxing is the most important thing in piano, I'd say, for technique and getting a good tone and all these, so many, like avoiding injury. All of these all come back to how well can you relax at the piano. Do you feel tense, or do you feel like, I'm at peace and at home? You can. How many people do you know that play piano tense? And how many people do you know that play piano relaxed? Now, if you notice, most of the concert pianists play in a way that looks like they are so at home at where they are, like they're very relaxed. I mean, there's a couple that maybe not. They don't look the most relaxed, but those are usually the younger ones that are less, what would you call it, experienced. So, that's one of the things. Okay, so back straight. Now, next one is shoulders down, like this. So just relax your shoulders. Don't push them down and don't pull them up. Having your shoulders pulled up like this is not a good idea, because it's going to create tension and stress in your shoulders. And that'll wear you out and stress you out. And it's just not good. So just put them in a nice position where they're relaxed. So let them just sit on your body, just nice. Okay, now the next thing is we want our hands relaxed. Now, how many of you have heard people say, oh, well, you need very, very curved fingers? Well, that's true. You do need curved fingers, but you also don't want over-curved fingers. Now, how many of you ever heard of a teacher say that, over-curved fingers? It's not something that's really drilled into a lot of teachers. It's sort of not as well known. But if you do this, what are you doing? And you do this. If you're holding your hand up and then you go like that, so you're doing that. Well, what are you doing actually? You've got a muscle on the top part of your hand, or your arm, and a muscle down here. Now, you probably know a little bit about the muscular system, but basically, to move, our muscles contract and pull, right? And what connects the muscles? It's the tendons, or the ligaments, whatever you want to call them. But let's just talk about tendons for now. So the tendons are what we're looking at here. So imagine that you have two Arnold Schwarzenegger clones. They're like, California, California, and California. Like they talk the same, whatever. And they're gonna have a tug of war. So they're like these big, strong, buff guys. I mean, I don't know how strong he is now. I'm sure he still has quite a bit of his old strength, but I mean, when you don't work out a lot, you lose the muscle mass or whatever. But anyway. Okay, so say he's on either end. So there's two clones, and they're playing tug of war. And they're like, just going intense. Like an hour later, they're still going as intense. And they're both tired, but they're both the same amount of tired. Like they're both wearing out at the exact equal pace. So their strength is still exactly matched, okay? So they're just going. Right? Now, who wins? It's in a static tension. This is called static tension. What is going to be basically hurt in this example? Well, what's going to break eventually is the rope. The rope, you know, years down the line is going to break if they don't die from like hunger or whatever, or exhaustion and whatnot, if they never stop, right? They go for a year and then they're just like, and they die. But if they never died and they just kept pulling, eventually the rope would break. And then they'd be like, boo. Okay? So, in that example, the top muscle is one of the Schwarzeneggers and the bottom muscle is one of the Schwarzeneggers. And so, when we do this, or when we make a fist, we're clenching the bottom. And when we pull up, we're clenching the top. So what happens when we do this? We have to pull this muscle back to create that curved finger, because we all know we don't get that from doing this, do we? So one muscle is tense here, and another muscle, when you lift, is tense as well. So where does all that tension go? Well, it goes straight to your tendon. So that's where you can get tendinitis. You know, if you play like this all the time, you're going to be getting tendinitis probably. So, there's a time and a place to use a very overcurved finger, which would be in Baroque music. Like. Anyway, so there's that. Now, but I'm not going to overcurve it. I'm not going to be tense. I'm going to try to stay relaxed. Okay. So, shake out your hands. Here's an example. Shake your hands up and bow. Do you believe me that my hands are relaxed? Yes, probably. What about this? Oh, my hands are so relaxed right now. Ooh, they're just so relaxed. No, they're not, are they? What about this? I have really relaxed hands right now. Okay, probably this was the relaxed position, right? Okay, now look at my finger. Does it have a natural kind of curve down? Yeah, it does. So, this is actually the kind of curve that we want on the piano. It's one that's relaxed, one that's not going to be tense. So this is the best kind of curve you can have. It's one that's relaxed. So how I do this is I shake my hands out, and then I'm going to keep them like rag dolls. It's like, you know, just shaking a marionette or a rag doll or whatever. And then I'm just going to slowly drop them onto the piano. And I keep them relaxed, keep them relaxed, keep them relaxed, keep them relaxed. And they're still relaxed. I have no tension at all. And this is how they go. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to play the keys, and I'm only going to keep my fingers tense in the same, I'm just going to keep them in the spot that they're on, like the curve. I'm just going to tension them just for a second, or half a second while I play. Just to keep them strong enough to hold, because we don't want this happening. That's very, very bad. We don't want this happening. Why don't we want that happening? Well, imagine trying to walk on stilts. Okay, that's not so bad. Stilts that are made of rubber. On ice. Well, maybe not ice, but I just threw that in because it'd be more fun. But imagine stilts that were rubber. So while you're walking, it's like smack, right? It's going to be really hard because you can't judge, like, your inertia and everything is going to distort what your motions are. And it's going to be very hard to control. And not only is that hard to control, but it's extremely bad for the joint. It's too much stress on that joint. So what you're going to do is just curve this enough, okay? And pretend that this is a bridge, and there's people on the top, and then there's green grass over here and over here, and there's a little river underneath, and there's crocodiles. And when you go, psh, the bridge breaks, and the people go, ah, sploosh, into the river, and the crocodiles, you know, they either make friends with them or they eat them. Whatever you want to finish the story off with. Anyway, so it's important to keep your fingers curved, but you don't want to keep them stressed. So you're only going to hold the position while you're pushing the key down right at the start. But do you need to have like tense hands to do this? No, because watch this. And I relax. Oh, sorry. Now I'm going to be like, I'm trying as really hard as I can, stressing out, and I'm not. Does it make a difference in the sound? No, it doesn't. It only makes a difference when you first push it down. After you push it down, you can relax it immediately. Okay? So that's the problem also more people have is they push the keys and then they keep holding them really tight. But all you need to do to hold them down and keep them down is just to let your arm weight drop into them. Now, here's arm weight. So arm weight falls from the shoulder like this downwards. There's gravity. So if you took a pen and you dropped it, where's it going to go? Down. Right? So would you ever expect that gravity, if I dropped a pen, it would go beep, and then up and then back down? That would be very weird. If it was like, drop it, it's like, it goes in one straight line. So if our arms are below the keys like this, our arm weight is going to be down here, and then what's going to be happening is there's going to be tension in our forearm to keep the arm weight and keep our wrist up. So it's going to be tensing our muscles up. But if we come from slightly above, and instead of just allowing our hands to go down, the arm weight will just go down that way, and it'll result in tension here. So what we have to do is throw the arm weight from the shoulder into the key, like that. Like that. We throw into it. Just like if I took a pencil here and I wanted to get it over there, what would I do? Would I drop it down and go like that? No, that would just hit the floor. So I have to throw it that way and give it enough force to make it to the keys. So you're throwing into the keys like that. So what you need to do is have your arms slightly above the keys or about level with them. You don't want to be very much below them. So what you can do is take a book, put the book on the keys, and then see if your arms are above or below the keys. If your elbow is below, then gravity is going to be hindering your weight transfer. It's going to be keeping you from being relaxed. Okay? And the other way is, if you're a little bit above, then gravity will help you if you throw your weight towards the keys. Now, going back to the whole thing about keeping your fingers tense. You only want to keep them tense just for a little bit, it's sort of like when you brace for an impact. Like if someone's about to hit you, you go, ugh, for a second, and then after they hit you, you relax. If you're not dead. Okay, so that's the same sort of idea. So what you want to do is play a really loud chord. I'm not going to do that because I think the volume's too loud on my mic. And then as soon as you do, play a soft chord as fast as you can after that. So, like that. And what you're doing then is you're training your hands to play hard and then immediately relax, because you have to relax to play the soft chords. Okay? So that's the whole idea. Now, to get a good sound of the piano, you basically have to go to the bottom of the key. Now, what controls the loudness of the sound that comes out of a piano? It isn't how hard you push down, so to say. It has to do with the speed of the hammer hitting the string in the piano itself. And what determines the speed of the hammer? How quickly the key goes down. So if it goes down quickly, it'll be louder. If it goes down slower, then it's going to be, the hammer will go, and it'll make a quieter sound. If it goes, it's going to make a louder sound. So, but the thing is, you need to go down to the bottom of the key. So what you're going to do is hold your arm weight up with your arms and then push forward. Now, the faster you push, the louder it's going to be. Okay, that's pretty much how it works. Or another way you can do it is pretend that you have all your arm weight up on your shoulders and you're going to hold your arms up. They're floating. Okay. Now what you're going to do is just drop maybe 10% or 50% of your arm weight. You'll get a mezzo piano sound or so. If you drop all your arm weight, you'll get a mezzo forte to maybe close to a forte sound. Anything past that, you're going to have to actually push hard. You're not going to be just letting your arm weight drop, because there is arm weight. So one of the things you can do to get arm weight is first hold your arms up like this and just drop your hands into your lap. Now don't push into your lap. Never push. Don't push. Only just drop, and it should just feel like there's string and someone cuts it loose. So it's snip. It just goes. Now once you've done that for a while, this is a real knee slapper. No. Okay, anyway, my weird joke there. Okay, what you're going to do after you have dropped them in is now picture the piano is there, and picture it's transparent, it's like a ghost piano. And picture that your hands are going right through the keys. Now what you do, after you've done that for a while, you move the bench closer again, and then you just drop the keys. And then just let your arms sit there. And you'll start to be able to feel what the arm weight feels like. And then eventually you'll be able to aim your arm weight at keys. Okay? It's all about controlling the arm weight, keeping loose, keeping fluid. Okay? So shoulders down, elbows not going to be bent too much. If you're too close, actually what happens is you get this thing with your hands and your wrists go out, and that hurts your wrists a lot. So that's part of the reason why you want to be out, is because you want your wrists straight, not bent this way or this way too much. They should just be even. The top part of your hand should be about level with the floor. And yeah, that's about it. Another thing you can do is wave your hand across the keys like this. Now that's like waving. It's going to be much easier to go up and down the keyboard if you go like this versus if you do this. If you're bumping up and down when you're doing your scales, it's going to be hard. Okay? So what you've got to do is do a nice even thing like, okay, just like that. So it just goes gliding down. Anyway, so yeah. I think that's lesson number 21. I hope you guys enjoyed that and your posture will improve. So just remember, just relax. It's just posture. Just relax